the Israelites continued to increase. Genesis 47. Now the Israelites settled in Egypt, in the region of Goshen. They acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly in number. After Joseph died, they were enslaved. Exodus 1. Then a new king who did not know about Joseph came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become much too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous, and if war breaks out, will join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramesses as store cities for Pharaoh. Then, 430 years later, they all leave Egypt under the leadership of Moses with the intent of going back to the land of Canaan. Exodus 12. At the end of the 430 years, to the very day, all the Lord's divisions left Egypt. Here we see that the same day they left the land of Egypt, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, happened to be the very day that Jacob, Israel, first came to the land of Egypt. It was at this time that the law was given in written form to his people on Mount Sinai. His people being all 12 tribes of Israel and the aliens who had joined with them. Yet they rebelled against God and did not have the faith to take the promised land. Thus, they were not allowed to enter it. Numbers 14. The Lord replied, I have forgiven them, as you asked. Nevertheless, as surely as I live, and as surely as the glory of the Lord fills the whole earth, not one of the men who saw my glory and the miraculous signs I performed in Egypt and in the desert, but who disobeyed me and tested me 10 times, not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their forefathers. No one who has treated me with contempt will ever see it. It was only the children of this generation that was to enter the promised land under Joshua. Just before entering the promised land, we see God adding a new covenant to that which was given to the generation before. What exactly is this new covenant? The covenant that came to the first generation under Moses was not so much instructions, but rather the blessings and curses that would result, pending the obedience or disobedience to those instructions. And we see that this new covenant is simply an expansion of those blessings and curses. First, compare what Moses says to this next generation. Deuteronomy 4. What other nation is so great as to have their gods near them the way the Lord our God is near us whenever we pray to him? And what other nation is so great as to have such righteous decrees and laws as this body of laws I am setting before you today? In this same chapter, he gives a brief summary of the added covenant being given to them. Deuteronomy 4. After you have had children and grandchildren, and have lived in the land a long time, if then you become corrupt and make any kind of idol, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord your God, and provoking him to anger, I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you this day, that you will quickly perish from the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. You will not live there long, but will certainly be destroyed. The Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will survive among the nations to which the Lord will drive you. Toward the end of Deuteronomy, we see him giving another overview. The blessings. Deuteronomy 28. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above the nations on earth. All these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. Then, After he gives the blessings that would come from obedience, he then gives the curses that would come resulting from disobedience. Deuteronomy 28. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. After explaining the curses, he then explains how this is an added covenant with them. Deuteronomy 29. These are the terms of the covenant the Lord commanded Moses to make with the Israelites in Moab, in addition to the covenant he had made with them at Horeb. So, we see that this was a covenant that was added to the previous covenant, not doing away with the previous covenant, just adding a new one along with it. As a part of the curse in this new covenant, we see the Father declares he will literally spread his people into the nations if they choose to disobey. Deuteronomy 4. The Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and only a few of you will survive among the nations to which the Lord will drive you. Deuteronomy 28. The Lord will drive you and the king you set over you to a nation unknown to you or your fathers. There you will worship other gods, gods of wood and stone. You will become a thing of horror and an object of scorn and ridicule to all the nations where the Lord will drive you. Yet, immediately following, he mentions what will happen when they choose to return to his ways. Deuteronomy 30. When all these blessings and curses I have set before you come upon you, and you take them to heart wherever the Lord your God disperses you among the nations, and when you and your children return to the Lord your God, and obey him with all your heart and with all your soul, according to everything I command you today, then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you, and gather you again from all the nations where he scattered you. Even if you have been banished to the most distant land under the heavens, from there the Lord your God will gather you and bring you back. He will bring you to the land that belonged to your forefathers,